Dr. Bashir has to manipulate neural proteins at a subatomic level. Serena's norepinephrine levels are slightly elevated. And let's improvise. Do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton, who refuses to sing.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to do it because I remember about the Alamare.
Oh, boy. Count to 4.
I'm not going to do it.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 7 already, Episode 5, Chrysalis, written by Renee Echevarria, directed by our good buddy, Mr. Jonathan West, the director of photography. This was October 28th, 1998. Where were you? And, of course, it is a Nog episode. Malissa Longo is here to sing along.
Yay.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello.
Maybe I was wrong. All right. So what?
Why you gotta be mean?
Did you? Okay, let's just get into that though. Melissa, did you love the singing moments? Did you sing along?
No, I didn't sing along, but it's been stuck in my head since watching it. Yeah. I mean, it felt a little Sound of Music to me, and Sound of Music is one of my favorite movies, but it wasn't Sound of Music. It wasn't Sound of Music to me.
Yeah. It was a big miss for me.
It's a no from me, Cirroc says.
No. And just kept going on. I thought it was too long. It was just way too long. And I'm like, what is this about to evolve into? What is this? I was thinking to myself, this is getting worse. And it wasn't already on a good trajectory to begin with. But then it started going even worse with that. And I was like, how long do you want this scene to be?
Yeah, I was pretty impressed that she went from not being able to speak to incredible operatic singing in an instant. Now, of course, genetically engineered, we get it. But, your vocal cords are muscles, like they need training. They need, whatever. But whatever, I don't have to put the tie on just yet. For those of you just watching for the first time, I have a nitpick tie. We put on the Captain Picard tie and nitpick. I'm not doing that just yet because Melissa's going to throw in a nitpick right now. I can tell she's just like, the second those commas turned into periods when Ryan's speaking is when I'm going to throw my nitpick out. Period.
No, I was just going to say, Bashir did kind of explain that to O'Brien, because usually you need years to develop, that kind of linguistic skill. But I agree, it's a muscle.
This I don't know where to begin with this episode, but I will say there are little tiny momentary nuggets that I did like.
Okay.
I won't throw the baby out with the bathwater in this instance. I think that those small moments were good. Particularly, for example, when Nog was in this episode. I liked Aaron's performance. Specifically, the exact moment that I really loved and just made me chuckle in is when he kind of admits that, saying that that's a stupid question.
Yes.
that it manipulated him to the point where he was fooled by it too. So he was like, yeah, I'll say. And the way he delivered that, I'll say, I love the way he did it.
Yeah.
He had that expression on his face, like they got me with it. And I just love that moment right there. That moments like that were special for me.
Mm-hmm. And I do like that they they put Nog on the night shift.
On the night shift.
Oh,
it's 3 a.m.
and it's funny because Bashir's like, well, I don't get it. He's like, the admiral, because he's obviously been convinced that this guy's an admiral and that Bashir needs to get there right away. So that whole scene right there, I did enjoy seeing Aron in those moments because that to me shows me some of the comedic stuff that I miss about him so much. It's like his comedic timing, his facial expressions and the way he delivers certain zingers. Those things I miss so much about him, and I get a little piece of that when I see it in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's a ladies' man. This is still undisputed.
How do you let that go? That's another thing. I was like, how do you introduce that and then pull that? Don't follow up.
Right.
I'm a little upset with that. Right.
Yeah.
What did you expect, Ryan, when you heard the Nog crush talk?
Figured typical. Typical. Nog's a ladies' man. What else is new?
Yeah, right.
Everybody knows it.
Everybody's falling over.
But I do think that it's kind of cool that he has the night shift on top of that, because didn't Rom also have the night shift initially? So if he still had, or wait, maybe he doesn't anymore. Maybe he got promoted to day shift. Damn.
Yeah, he did get promoted to day shift.
Yeah, I remember that now.
I mean, there could be any reason why he's working in it. He could be covering for somebody.
Part of the rotation.
I don't know.
Scheduling rotation so that
I wasn't so much focused on the night shift part as like I said, this girl basically said she had a super crush on Nog. Yeah. And I'm like, why didn't they follow that up with a scene? There should have been a scene where she was all over him and he felt either uncomfortable or he was like, hey, look, Jake, look, or hey, look, guys, look how these women are all over me. I got to beat them back. I think that would have been a good opportunity for them to expand that idea a little bit.
They could have manipulated a situation where they needed him to fix something in the cargo bay and,
Right.
Maybe that's why he works the night shift. Maybe there's a girl he likes that works at night. Oh. And he's just like, I'll work the night shift.
That's a whole other story, right? He was a girl that he liked. This other woman is all over him and it's messing his game up with the other girl that he's trying to get around.
That's a whole episode right there. That
is a whole episode.
I'm just saying, you can't throw the whole, I'm in love with Nog and then don't show a follow-up to that. That was a no-brainer. And actually, I was waiting for it multiple times in the episode. After they said that, I was waiting. Okay, it's going to come now. It's going to come now. And the moment that I thought it was going to come the most, I was really expecting it, was when Bashir is waiting in his quarters for Serena, and she doesn't show up.
Oh, yes.
And he asked the computer, where is she? And it's like, she's at her quarters. I thought Bashir's going to walk in on a threesome with Nog, that girl, and the other. I thought it was going to go down like that.
And the other, and the other lady, the Lauren lady. Wow.
Yes. Like Nog being the Don Juan in this episode, and sometimes I actually was expecting that.
Been
Bashir would have been like, "What? What the hell's going on?"
Why? And he's like, "Yeah, one for each ear."
I was waiting for that, so I might have been the only one watching this episode waiting for that, but I was or something.
Really,
something using the Nog. This woman's all over him. Something using that as as fuel to the fire of the storyline.
Yeah, because it sounds like it was just kind of a throwaway line that was meant as maybe a punchline or a little, end of a scene, kind of, just like a little thing to close it out.
It just seemed out of place.
But it was a missed opportunity. Yeah, it's kind of a missed opportunity if it piques the audience's interest and then just leaves it there, not just for this episode, but for the series.
Definitely.
Like these people are never to be seen or heard from again. So that's it. That thing died right there.
Well, but there was a moment when she was looking at that pad with Nog's face on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I missed that.
Staring
I did.
longingly
I saw that.
into.
Yeah.
I actually have that somewhere.
Pull it up. Pull it
I
up.
don't know where it is right now.
I saw her because that's when she says it. She says it while she's looking at the pad that she's like, "Oh, I have somebody else now." And
well, she says it
right?
2 times. She says it 2 times when she's brushing Serena's hair before going out on the date, and then later she's laying on the bed looking at the pad, longing with Nog's face on it.
And so then that for me was an easy follow up, like her trying to, oh my God, the replicators are broken. Can you send Nog in here? You know what I mean? Like, well, I'll send O'Brien. No, not O'Brien.
We need somebody who can really hear things because they're somebody with heightened hearing. Okay, Rom, we'll send Rom. No.
No, not Rom. So that would have been a whole little funnier moment there for me. But I don't know. Ultimately, I feel like they took a story that was in the other season, which is this mutant class that we saw in another episode. This is essentially the second part of it.
Statistical probabilities, I believe it was.
Was that the first one?
Yeah.
And in that one, I guess they were coming up with the fact that they were going to lose to the Dominion if they fought them. So they said you have to surrender now because the odds were just not in their favor. And then there was all these millions of lives were going to die. And Sisko's like, I don't care. We're going to fight. We don't lay down for the future of generations, so that they know that they would come from fighters. I thought that was like, that was a great episode from the standpoint of getting that message. But I also felt like those characters had served their purpose in both kind of being the bridge for the genetic engineering of the society of genetically engineered people that Bashir belongs to. So it helped support that storyline, but it also kind of served its purpose for the Dominion War, and that even no matter how genius you are, you can't be smarter than courage or heart or the spontaneous things that could happen, right? In this episode, what did I get out of it? It was like a bad love story episode to me. It wasn't really a good Bashir love story because they didn't really fall in love.
How crazy was it that when he said, I love you, I was like, whoa, dude. Whoa, you need to be in that room with them, Julian. So sorry to be the one to tell you, but if you fall in love in 43 seconds, you need to be in there. And I think on this topic, Lauren should not be in that room.
Wasn't he in love with another one
that's
before?
She doesn't seem, quote, crazy to me at all. Like, we get why Serena was in there. We understand why Patrick and the other guy, whatever his name is, Jack. But what, Lauren is horny? So
right.
She's comfortable in her sexuality. Lock her up. Oh, what a monster. Oh,
I know.
The world isn't safe with her running around all flirtatious.
Well, and that's just
a disadvantage, okay? No, I'm joking.
But that kind of goes to show the devil's standard when it comes to female sexuality versus male sexuality.
You're right.
Because
because every male captain on all these shows have slept with every woman on that they can find, and there's no disposition for them, and there's no reason for them to be ostracized from the group because of their thinking, and their behavior.
Right. But she has a big libido, so she must be crazy.
Yeah, she's got to be crazy. You know what? And that's why this episode is a dud for me, because number one, I wasn't really a fan of them revisiting these characters. I felt like they served their purpose. I felt like they already sabotaged and crossed all kind of Starfleet rules by giving out intelligence. Like, to me, that's punishable by not being around anymore. You can't come back to another episode. That's like, forget about what Starfleet did. You just can't come back to another episode. Okay?
So then I was thinking, okay, because beyond the fact that, okay, yes, maybe throughout the history of Star Trek, this lady, Lauren, is the most outward in her constant sexuality and flirtation, except maybe Lwaxana, right?
Right.
But beyond that, did they explain in the first episode that she appeared in, like, what made her loony? Because I was trying to remember, like, if she, said, "Oh yeah, I have trouble in small places" or some. I was trying to figure it out because
she was all over Bashir in the first episode.
She was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like Lwaxana was with Odo, but Lwaxana's not locked up.
Right.
So what's with this lady that if they didn't explain that in the first one, that's a little disappointing. I don't know why I didn't catch that the first time, but like, what?
They have Orion slave girls that are literally like sexual objects in Star Trek. So you're telling me that what she's doing is more outlandish than that?
Well,
I don't see it.
The thing is they kind of explained that the female Orions are in control of that because they have these pheromones that entice the males.
Like we needed that
males.
explained. We know they're in charge.
No, I'm just saying. The point is
like,
that it's not unusual for me to see that. So she doesn't seem to be qualified to be in a quote unquote like loony bin or whatever that they're trying to portray it in. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't even fit with the storyline. But even further than that, even the main storyline, I was waiting for like the caveman Molly to jump out in this episode. How ridiculous some of the
I was like, I think Cirroc belongs in that room, but I get what you're saying. The way things were just kind of coming out of nowhere.
The way things are coming out of nowhere, I was like, okay, where's this going? Is Cave Molly coming in this? Is she about to relate to this other girl having another experience like her? And I was just like, this just I wasn't really feeling it. The Do Re Mi scene was like enough to just take it over the top. And
that's where they lost Cirroc. That's where like Cirroc's like, there's nothing you guys can do the rest of the episode that's going to bring me back in on this. That 3-minute song should have been 14 seconds or I'm out.
I want to see the pages for that. Did they really write those?
Well, there's sheet music. There is sheet music. I saw it online.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to see the script though. I want to see how it was written in the script. This guy says do. She says Ray. Like, really?
Yeah. If it's actually like scripted out, that'd be like 15 pages for the dough, and then she says Ray. Yeah.
2 shots over the dough. Like, come on, it was like it was a bad musical.
Well, I'm going to throw in and actually somebody that has the Deep Space Nine companion, like Eve England out in Wales, who is our Deep Space Nine companion, by the way. So maybe there's information there on that. I bet there probably is. But my guess is that they were going to do some a little sing-along kind of thing, right? But then we do know Dr. Marie Segal has informed us that Faith Sally, the actress that plays Serena, she's like a big musical theater Broadway person, which was clear when she was singing. So I wonder if the director, who was it, Jonathan West, was just like, we've got some really good singers in this cast, except for Jack, which was clear because his was very clearly and powerfully dubbed over. They all were, but like his was, very clearly his voice was changed and altered and whatever. So I think that it's just one of those things where like a director's playing to their strengths. Maybe they were planning on doing it for a short amount of time. And then when they're like, well, these guys are really good. And then maybe you got Faith Sally and them going like, well, I could do this, and then we could do this, and they're all like improvising, and they're just going, yeah, go for it. But the rest of us are like, And then all the musical theater buffs out in New York are like, this is the best episode ever. And the rest of us are like, we don't care about musical theater.
Musical theater. Yeah, I'm a musical theater buff, and it didn't strike a chord with me.
Hey, strike a chord. Hey, wow, look at this one over here. Unbelievable. Good
but at the same time, I read that she had to audition again to play this part because she hadn't spoken in the previous episode.
What a sour note.
So they wanted to make sure I got it. So they wanted to make sure that she was capable of carrying an episode.
Right. That's the key.
Oh, gosh.
What?
Ryan, you're being tone deaf.
Which is a joke that they made because the guy who played Jack is tone deaf in real life, which is why they had to dub over his
why
voice.
It was so obvious. As soon as he went, I was like, wait a second. This is clearly not the situation. I could catch that immediately.
I didn't know that. I didn't catch it. As soon as I heard it,
good job.
I started tuning it out. So I can't even recall exactly what happened in that scene.
Well, what they did was actually, Melissa,
see it while I was seeing it.
Melissa, you can help me with this. This is what they did. We'll start at the top, okay?
Oh gosh, no, please, no. Let's get to a break first.
I'm ready.
No, God, I can't hear it again.
Let's torture
any
Cirroc.
other song, like actual song, like that's not even a Do Re Mi is not a song. It's like give me some like if she wants to do musical stuff, then she could have been doing some. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet you $1.
That's why it was like a little reminiscent to Sound of Music, because Maria teaches the Von Trapp children how to sing, starting with Do Re Mi, which are the scales for singing. When you're professionally trained. So they're just piggybacking off of that and their Do Re Mi song.
What did you get from this? Like, what is the story trying to say? This episode.
I think it was supposed to. Was trying to say that Bashir is lonely, and he hasn't found his person yet. But just because somebody comes along that you click with right away, and he was kind of romanticizing her in a bit. He
would stop like flirting with his patients that he's actually treating. That's kind of like.
And she's fully spent the night, the very first night. Then when he has to go to work, he leaves her there. I'd be like, I got to go to work, so you gotta go too.
Well,
like I'm not leaving you here to snoop around my.
I have some nitpicks about that, but it also kind of felt a little Pygmalion in a way, My Fair Lady Pygmalion, in that the Professor Higgins falls in love with Eliza Doolittle. But he falls in love with the idea of somebody he's helped to create, when really she's helped create her. I mean, yes, that is true in a sense, but it's not allowing her to find out who she is and who's, allowing her to create herself in a sense, because she hasn't been able to.
I think that's what the story was telling, is even more so than Bashir. Obviously, we want more on Bashir, and so that's what we're going to hang on to, because he's our main character in this story. But I think that the story was teaching him a lesson, and teaching us all a lesson, because she's in an extremely vulnerable state. She's just now kind of waking up out of a slumber, and it's just way, and there's more to talk about with this, but basically he's inadvertently kind of taken advantage of her.
That's what I see.
Of her, fragile state.
Of her fragility,
So we're going to take a quick break right now, everybody, and then we're going to jump right back, and we'll, don't worry, we'll get this song ready to go. By the time we come back, we'll have it all set. Right back on the 7th. Wow, everybody listening in, that was Cirroc. That was Cirroc throwing, and That voice of an angel. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Seventh Rule, everybody, with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
That's Malissa Longo. This is Ryan T. Husk.
Hi.
And we're talking about our, what is this, 5th or 6th favorite episode of Deep Space Nine ever. So here are the trivioids.
From
right
the
on the
bottom
cusp of top. Here are the trivioids for the week. We got so many juicy ones. You are going to love it. Get a bib. Odo and Kira are looking forward to... What? You need a bib, Melissa. What just happened there? I don't know. Somebody swallowed a sprinkler. Not like the ones that just go out and like that, but the ones that go like... Anyway. Odo and Kira are looking forward to an evening alone at Vic's. Admiral Patrick threw Dr. Girani out of the infirmary. Serena is just a little cataleptic, which rather than Googling, I hope we'll just ask somebody what that means, but we can kind of guess what that means, right? It's kind of like, seems like a mix of catatonic or epileptic. It's some kind of medical something or other. Dr. Bashir has to manipulate neural proteins at a subatomic level. You cannot break the laws of physics, but you can bend them. Ezri is really good at punishing herself. Serena's norepinephrine. Serena's norepinephrine levels are slightly elevated. I'm never getting through these. Morn caught Chief O'Brien up on how his 17 brothers and sisters are doing, and everybody, Keiko is making tempura.
I want to go.
Yeah. Norepinephrine.
Takeaway I got from this.
Tempura, yum.
Although
Keiko's tempura sounds like it would be like an actual like good restaurant to go to.
Yeah. Chief O'Brien called it tempura. Yeah. He called it tempura, and I was like, calm down. You can just call it tempura. Just relax, Chief. It's the first time you ever read that word, isn't it?
I say tempura.
I strike that from the record then. It's still tempura.
Tempura?
Yeah. Maybe that's just the lazy American way of saying it. I'm sure it's probably like tempura.
Well, working in a Japanese restaurant, I always called it tempura.
It's probably the right way to say it.
Because it was owned by Japanese people.
She just pulled out the stripes on you, Captain.
Yeah. She just pulled the, well, I've laced them up and you haven't, right? That's the old sports thing of I've laced them up.
You don't know
I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think they probably call it tempura. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the person who knows the Japanese restaurant owners. Who laced him up.
All right. So anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about Julian Bashir and his cute little red surgical outfit.
No,
oh my gosh.
I don't know. Okay. All right. I didn't know we were talking about that, but let's go ahead and do it.
That's all there is.
So funny.
The reds are out.
It's funny that they did make those surgical gowns red for all of the red-blooded humanoids.
Okay.
Right.
Think about the green-blooded ones or the blue-blooded ones.
I wanted Nog to walk in and be like, hey, Dr. Bashir, can you turn down your surgical gown?
Yeah.
What in the Bajoran ritual is going on in here?
Bajoran ritual. All right. No, but the message of this episode, right? Yeah, I think it was basically like, look, Bashir clearly inadvertently, although it seemed a little bit more inadvertent in the 90s, whereas now in the 2020s, it's more like, I don't know, seems a little creepy. And also, but it was also creepy.
Oh, sorry. But I think that we have more of an awareness now that that's not okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Whereas the 90s, not so much.
That's what I mean. Like now it seems a little bit, but the one that really got me was, okay, she stands you up. Cool. He doesn't show up. Fine. I get it. She's your patient. You're worried. You're not, that, I don't think that's creepy to say, where is she? Is she okay? She's in her room. Okay. You go to her place. Still not creepy. You door chime her. She doesn't respond. Still not creepy. You say, Serena. Still not creepy. You say her instead of her, leaving that one alone. But then you say, after 4 seconds of her not answering her door, you go, computer override locks. I'm walking in. That
I know.
Whoa, dude. Whoa. What if she was just getting dressed?
What if she was in the sonic shower?
Or what if Nog was in there?
Yep.
Oh.
How pissed
back to that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's that jealous guy that I don't know what's good. I don't know what he does. He gets pissed.
Oh.
It's like, hey, you shouldn't have came in here. Didn't you knock? I did knock. Nog.
But what if he heard Nog's voice on the other end, on the other side of the door?
Yeah, something nice and a little growling.
Yep.
Now, this is what you said, the thing that bothered the thing that bothered me the most.
What?
No, the thing that bothered me the most was towards the end. And that is, this woman is clearly very emotional. She's very weak and vulnerable. And and she's going through all of this stuff, right? And all of a sudden, Bashir has to be sensitive. He's like, okay, I want you to stay with me. I love you, basically. You don't have to go. And she's like, I don't really want to do it. And clearly she's torn, right? And he's putting in her a very tough spot.
Yeah.
This is what bothered me about the last scene. She says, and I quote, I wish I could be the woman you want me to be.
Yeah.
This is like an amazing line to say to somebody, even for a man or woman or whoever it is. I wish I could be the person you want me to be. That means like I want you to be happy. I want to be your joy and happiness and your end all be all, but I don't feel like that's right for me, right? Mm-hmm. But I wish I could. His response was, shh.
So his response was, she says, I wish I could be the woman you want me to be. And he's like, well, then you need to shut up because that's the kind of woman I want. That's what he's saying right there.
What the hell are you doing? Is she opening her heart to you? She's saying all of this stuff. His answer was, shh, shut up. I don't want to talk about it. And I don't want you to talk right now. That is the most insensitive thing I think I could have seen transpire in that kind of a moment when a woman's revealing her heart to you. And you're like, shh, enough.
Especially to somebody who spent her whole life silent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Silent. In silence.
You just learned how to talk yesterday.
Yeah.
You shushed her when she says, I could be the woman you want me to be. And he's like, yeah, okay, you want to be the woman I want? Then just shut the hell up right now. That's the kind of woman I want right now.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, insensitive. It's just like one bad thing after another for Bashir. This is why he's alone, by the way, because he doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. Like,
yeah.
You're pushy when you're pushy when you're not supposed to be. You pull back when you should be more aggressive. He does the opposite of everything, that I think
is probably
cool.
One of the most socially awkward people on the station, which I think,
which is why he kind of fits in with those people in a way.
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
Right.
Which plays to highlights his enhanced, modifications or whatever. But it also shows that just because you're genetically enhanced doesn't mean you have the answers to everything. That you have everything. It's not going to solve all the problems.
Especially in social skills, like book smart is not the same as social skill interaction and ability.
Right, and I think that his scene with O'Brien kind of demonstrated that too, because O'Brien is saying, hey, this is going too fast and she's your patient, you know?
Yeah. And you're kind of ignoring me and treating me like crap over here. Because, you know, I've been sitting here waiting for you all day. It's our
right.
day or whatever, you know?
Right,
it's like,
but I also think O'Brien is wise enough to understand that, yes, while Bashir has matured during the 7 years, he's still young and he still has a lot to learn. And
he rolls his eyes in this episode when he's telling him the story, and it was I wrote it down. O'Brien's eye rolls.
Yeah, you're like, same, dude, same.
Exactly. That summed up how I felt about this episode. Was O'Brien rolling his eyes when Bashir's going on and on? He's like, yeah, all right, I'm done already. Like,
yeah,
let me finish this beer and get the hell out of here. So yeah, I just feel like he's just way too awkward. I did like the conversation he had with Ezri that's in the background behind you, Melissa, that picture behind you. She's basically really good at fitting in right away. So she just got here. She's 5 episodes deep. And right away, I felt like she had a very good connective conversation with Bashir when she says, hey, you know, I'm really good at being hard on myself. I can help you out if you want, you know? I like that dialogue, that scene. So there were that fell amongst the things that I did like about this episode. They were very small, brief, kind of fleeting moments, but I did like the certain interaction with Ezri and Bashir in that moment. I was like, actually, as they went back and forth, I was like, dude, she's the girl that would be perfect for you. Somebody's actually listening to you, talking to you, and I don't know what's going to happen.
And can tell you what the heck's wrong with your brain, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Put you in your place.
So that conversation kind of like made me think, oh, this dude, stop pining over this girl. The girl for you is actually listening to your problems and helping you, and you know, I don't know.
Right. Well, it would, to me, it kind of seemed like a foreshadow that Ezri is the solution to Bashir's loneliness.
Yeah,
no?
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
That's what it felt like.
No spoilers.
Yeah. It felt like that.
I didn't say anything. I just said it.
No, that's what it felt like. I don't know what's going to happen either. I just felt that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels more natural. He doesn't seem to be trying when he's around her. When he's around other people, I feel like he's like trying. He's like trying to like, I have to impress you and see something really cool, and it's like trying. But when somebody's just naturally themselves and they're like, hey, what's up with you? And you know, you're like more yourself. People pick up on that too. They're like, oh, okay, he's not putting on a Mac or a game or a whole persona that's fake. This is actually the person that I'm dealing with. And, you know, I can get to see them who they are for what they are. And I felt like when they were talking in that scene, it felt like his guard was down. He wasn't like trying to impress her. He's not trying to say something really smart and impressive, you know?
Right.
He's just like, hey, I feel like, you know, I feel like crap because I don't know what to do right now. And she's like, oh, well, hey, let me help you out. Let me help you feel like more crap. And then that's when I was like, oh, these guys are good together. They're, you know, their chemistry is already starting to bubble a little bit for me.
You know,
she has a patience with him. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, it's just what you were saying earlier, Cirroc, about Ezri kind of sliding into her role very well already on the 5th episode. Now, remember, this is really only the 4th episode that she's in. The first one, she just pops in at the end there. So yeah, I thought that was really cool too. And I noticed that. I also noticed that she was in this episode a little bit more than I remember. You know, she was certainly a very important part. You know, you had the 4 statistical probabilities people. You had Bashir, O'Brien a little bit, the others a little bit, but really Ezri was kind of the next most important character in this. And it was nice to see her sliding into this role that she felt very comfortable in already as a character. And yeah, that's just something I hadn't noticed when I had watched this previously, how quickly and seamlessly she now fits. And even if the story is not about her, she still is a part of the story and impacts it in the way of whatever her role has now become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I also wanted to bring up another couple of things. One of them was a line that I had never heard before, and I wanted to know if you guys had ever heard it and maybe knew where it came from. But the one crazy guy that was really more featured in the last episode as the guy with the twitch, Jack.
There it is.
But he actually had less of that twitch in this performance in this episode. I was kind of looking for that more. But then I thought it could be explained that because he's maybe developed and matured and kind of gotten treatment and help, that it's not so much that tick. Because I realized he went to it a little bit towards the end.
Right. Yeah, he did. But he did throw in a flip for us, everybody. So
he did.
That was certainly left field.
Like, wow.
But he says when they invent that little machine to do the surgery, he says it can clip the wings of an angel dancing on the head of the pin. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
No,
neither had I. So I just thought, well, that's a interesting way. It's like one of those dancing with the devil under the pale moonlight kind of
Batman.
That makes you just stick out. And I was like, oh, okay, clip the wings of an angel dancing on the head of a pin. Where did Renee get that? I wonder if it's from some piece of literature or whatnot, but that was one thing that jumped out.
Looks like Melissa might be Googling for us, so we'll get the answer soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing that jumped out to me that I wanted to give credit to Deep Space Nine for, and I think that if Anne Marie's in the free-for-all, she'd be somebody that would be able to kind of expand on this idea. But when they talked about the genetics and all of this stuff, they mentioned the L2 codon and RNA and the virus. And those were the actual words being used in this episode to kind of explain the science. But they mentioned RNA, they mentioned the virus, they mentioned the L2 codon. They basically really give us a very accurate scientific explanation for some of the science behind it. And I wanted to say that, having gone through now the pandemic and hearing things like mRNA and all of this virus talk, it seems real prophetic for them to be so detailed into such a specific category that ends up becoming very relevant now and common knowledge now, where it wasn't so common knowledge, I'm sure, in 1999 or 98 when this came out.
I wonder if Andre Bormanis was the science advisor still at this time and on this episode, or if he was over at Voyager. I think he was over at Voyager, because that is something that I would not expect a writer to know all that stuff, and they would need some kind of consultant. Yeah. But that's a good topic. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm not finding any. Oh, science consult. Yeah, Andre Bormanis. Okay. So we probably have him to thank for that, is what it seems. That's all he's the only one in that realm that I'm seeing.
Well, then he should be credited for that kind of detail into the actual science that is very relevant and on the tips of people's tongues today. But at that time, if you were talking, mRNA 20 some years ago, it would be like, huh? What are you talking about? I don't, but now it seems more common knowledge, and I just wanted to credit them for giving us science that has held true over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Although the mRNA has been researched for decades.
Right. But not really in the lexicon of the public sphere so much as in just the medical community, but not really into television and music and entertainment. But for them to be talking about it on a sci-fi show like Star Trek and giving us things that are ahead of its time, it would be no different than us watching one of the new shows now, and they were to be talking about concepts that are very shortly going to be something that we have as part of our reality.
Right.
So I just want to give them credit.
Star Trek being revolutionary.
Right. Did you find any reference to that, Melissa?
No, not really. There's something about term dancing on the head of how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, but
it's close. It's close.
That's pretty close.
Yeah,
it's in the same family.
Yeah, but it wasn't really.
Yeah. I think it was just a creative idea that Renee had. I do want to point out real quick, we've got a few minutes left, that as mentioned before, the director of photography is usually Jonathan West. He's directing in this one, so his first camera guy, his right hand man, Chris Crosscove, was the DP, the director of photography. So Chris probably loved it when Jonathan West would direct, because then he got the bump up to director of photography. So I just want to give a shout out to him, because those two were they were there every day on the set, working away. So
Chris Costco when they would get little, basically like a beach boy. If you saw him, he's like 6'4", a surfer looking guy. Just he was like the California beach boy guy. But he was always envious of these radio hosts named John and Ken, who are on the radio in the morning. And every time, sometimes we'd be talking, and he would say, "God, my neighbor John, man, from John and Ken in the radio. Guy makes all this money, and he only works 2 hours a day." And he would say that when
and he's working like 15-hour days.
Hours. Yeah. And every time when we get to hour like 14, he would just bring up that John and Ken from the radio, man. Damn, he's on him 3 hours tops. That's it. He's in and out. Makes $3 million a year. God, I want to be him. And he would always say that over and over again, or whatever the number was. I'm just putting one out there, but it was something like, that he would always bring up because of the long hours of DS9 just catching up to all of us at some point or another. And that was another thing I observed about this episode. It was basically a day off for a lot of the other actors.
Yes.
It was like a one day for Sisko. Yeah.
Odo, wasn't in it. Yeah. Right.
By the way,
can I just say how gorgeous Kira looked?
Yes.
In her dress. She looked gorgeous.
I also wanted to point out very quickly that before we go, that this episode was brought to you by John and Ken in the Morning. Check us out. It's I just, when Cirroc kept saying John and Ken in the Morning, for some reason, I feel like that's what they were called. John and Ken in the Morning. Check them out. With fart sounds and bugles and whatever. I can't listen to morning shows. I cannot.
Cowbell.
There's some people out there listening to this that know what I'm talking about. I cannot listen to any morning shows ever. They're just, I need them to calm down. I need them to just relax.
Some people have to commute. Some people commute. And if you commute an hour or 2 hours and you just sit in the car, you got to have something to keep you entertained or whatever.
Well, this is the wonderful thing about Spotify or
the seventh rule.
Right. Exactly.
I use the classical station, so I don't have to hear those morning guys. But I will say, speaking of Spotify and listening to the seventh rule, first of all, everybody, please make sure if you're watching this to give this video a like. Please make sure you're subscribing and sharing with your friends, and comment below. Tell us what you think about this episode. If you are listening into the audio podcast on the aforementioned Spotify or Apple or Spreaker or any of these things, go ahead and give us a nice rating, 5 preferably, and give us a review. Tell us what you think. If you give us a review, there's a good chance we will read that review in an episode like this one. Here is a review from, this person is going to be her third NAM of the day. This is from Anne-Marie 222. I'm guessing it's probably the Anne-Marie, not 222 that we know. It says, 5 stars. I love the seventh rule. This show has so much heart and love for Star Trek and the fans. It changes the lives of all its listeners for the better. 2 exclamation points and 3 at the top, by the way. And then she finishes with a heart emoji, Vulcan salute emoji, heart emoji, Vulcan salute emoji, heart emoji, and then 3 Vulcan salute emojis. I don't know what that's code for, but there's got to be a reason for it. So everybody, leave us a comment below and leave us a review, and we will read that review, and your name will be heard, and everybody will love it. Anyway, we got time for one more magic and important point.
I thought you were going to break the tie out.
That's the thing. I was thinking about bringing out the tie, but I'm like, I feel like this whole episode's been, I should have just been wearing it the entire time. What do you got for us, Melissa?
The fact that when Bashir woke up and left for surgery, he didn't change his underwear or brush his teeth.
Yeah, caught that too. He didn't change anything.
Like, ew. You're crusty right now. Ew.
Yeah, he's so crusty. He could take his pants off and put them down, and they still stand up by themselves without anybody in them.
No, I did laugh a little bit about the idea of the collapse of the universe.
I was just going to say that.
Yes. You're going to say that?
I was literally going to just say that when he said, he's like, how much time do we have? And Jack goes, 60 million years, 70 at the most. And Pat goes, oh no.
Oh no.
Brilliant.
Well, and it's funny because the universe is actually expanding, not imploding.
Right. But for all we know, they've figured out that it's going to reach a certain distance, or size, and then it's going to close back up. Or who knows? I mean, it's Star Trek in 70 million years. Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows?
But we won't be around these guys are all doomsdayers. That was the thing I walked away with too. I was like, oh, so these are the doomsdayers, and basically that's their little. Because last time it was, oh my God, we'll lose to the Dominion. It's over. So we can't do it, and we're going to die. Now it's like, oh my God, the universe collapsed, and we're going to die. So they're all about these kinds of like doomsday prophecies, where it's all going to.
Actually, speaking
waiting for the spaceships to take them away.
Right.
Speaking of doomsayers, we'd like to give a very special thanks to a few doomsayers right now, especially Homer Frizzell out in Walter Koenig's former apartment building in New York, Dr. Marie Segal, which we mentioned too many times already today, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, or the French call Skillet.
Skillet.
I don't know. Tim Baum, a.k.a. Grandpa One, a.k.a. Bubbles, Dr. Stephanie Baker, and Mike Goo, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Neil Akasaka, DQ, Joe Balsarati, Erica Strom, Anil O. Palat, Rex A. Wood, Anna Post, Tierney C. Diekman, Dr. Muhammad Noor, John Mann, Darlena Marie, Titus Moeller, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, and Bill Victor Arukin. Also, bug expert, Dr. Susan V. Gruner.
Woohoo!
Also, little known fact, bugs are experts on Dr. Susan V. Gruner as well. It's a mutual thing. It's pretty interesting.
Whoa.
All right.
Two-way street.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Stick around. Some of those people we just mentioned will be here on the free-for-all, and we'll see in a few minutes. I guess a few seconds. On the seventh rule.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the free-for-all with our hosts, Brian T. Husk and Cirroc Lofton. Woohoo! Also starring today, Malissa Longo, Grandpa One, Sue Gruner, Eve England, parentheses out in Wales, Goldu Scott Jensen, Tierney C. Diekman, parentheses Borg Queen, TJ Jackson Bay, and Rex A. Wood, Trekkers Against Bullying.
Awesome. Beautiful. You know what's funny about that is I'm so used to saying TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri that when you just said TJ Jackson Bay, for a second I thought you forgot his last name. I felt like you had missed his last name, and I was going to say, and I was like, oh wait, no, that he said the whole thing. Anyway, so we're talking about Chrysalis today, season 7, episode 5. 3 people on this panel have said it is their favorite Deep Space Nine episode. Who are those 3? Make your guesses right now. We'll see if you are right. I bet you won't be right. All right. Real quick, we got some NAMs, non-appearance mentions for the day. Did you guys catch them?
Keiko and the kids.
I think Keiko, yeah.
Keiko was making delicious dinner.
Always forget to check.
And the kids.
That's right. That is absolutely right. I felt like there was one more. Let me check and make sure. Oh, yeah. Dr. Lowe's. Did we see Dr. Lowe's in statistical probabilities? I don't remember. Because if we saw her,
was it that woman?
I guess that's what I'm thinking.
At the beginning of the episode, when she's consoling Jack, that might have been Dr. Lowe's.
That's what I was thinking. Well, if so, then it's a NAM for her. That's all we got. Also, Jake Sisko guesses at their IMDb score. Uh-oh.
Hey, I'm gonna go with a 5-5 brown eye.
Ooh.
No.
Anybody else have any guesses? TJ, you want to go $1? Anybody have any guesses?
I'll do a 6-7.
6-7, and what'd you say, TJ?
6-3.
Okay.
I remember it.
Steph Curry, 6'3". Anybody else?
I'll go high with 7.
It's around that, I think, isn't it? It's like a high 6
That's
or 7.
High. He said high.
Yeah,
he's like,
high before that.
High 7.
The final answer is Dr. Muhammad Noor, 7.0.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
On fire today. All right.
Wow.
All right. So
Surprising.
we've got to start today with the best dressed person. He just updated his wardrobe recently. He told us he's hanging out in the island of Fiji, looking sharp. Grandpa One, what do you got? Do you love this episode or what? Were you singing along?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I've wanted to say this all week. That's a stupid question.
Somebody had to do it.
Yes.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
No, one of my favorite stories of all time is Flowers of Algernon.
Oh, I love it.
Which I'm
I was gonna
assuming this is
reference that too.
based on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I've always said Morn was my spirit alien. The very first scene, they called Bashir out at 3 a.m, and he's walking to the medical department, and who's walking in the background probably after last call but Morn. I'm like,
It's still 2 a.m. Yep.
yeah. No, because of I really love the Flowers of Algernon, and then Charlie, which Cliff Robertson made in '68, was a great movie based on that. So, in that case, that's really what I loved about this episode. Of course, the biggest difference is that she doesn't revert back like they do on she pretends to, but she doesn't revert back. And that also brings up another thing. For God's sakes, Bashir, take a cold shower. How many times has he tried to hook up through the 6 years? But no, I thought Faith Saley did a great job. I loved the singing. That was the harmony. Yeah, so it is one of my favorites. I wouldn't put it in the top 5, but it's one I always like to watch. Just because it always reminds me of Charlie. So
excellent knowledge with the Charlie talk. I'd forgotten about that movie. That's really good. Good one.
I've got it on DVD.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Dr. Susan V. Gruner, by the way, how are you?
I'm good.
How much do you love this episode?
How are you doing?
I think we're all good. Cirroc, Melissa, and I were just basically giggling through the entire hour of our review. And then at one point, when I thought they weren't giggling enough, I texted them something terrible, and then they giggled harder while we were trying to record.
Well, this episode reminds me of Awakenings, the one with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm the only one. This is one of my least favorite episodes. You're
not the only one.
I'm not a fan of musicals. I think that's my issue. But the singing was great, and I haven't been able to get that stupid song out of my head for the past 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
same.
I'm hearing Joe Adair and that thing. And they did a great job. And I mean, it's not a bad episode. I wanted a different ending. I wanted Dr. Bashir to hook up with her. I know I'm the only one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You're not alone. He needs a win.
The poor guy.
Oh, poor guy. He's had Lita.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Melora.
Yeah, but
Melora.
doesn't last.
I mean, he's got the
seasons, yeah.
Ensign, what's her name after?
Right. He got second place in the Jadzia sweepstakes, we found out.
Right?
Honored to be nominated.
That and $4 will get him a latte.
Wow. He doesn't even get the girl as the James Bond in his own character.
Right. That's right. Good point.
This is true. Oh, poor Bashir. Running joke. He just can't do it. Well, and then Nog, on the other hand, what the ladies' man.
Yeah.
No surprise there.
Uh-oh.
Well, all right, Dr. Muhammad Noor.
So
your thoughts?
There are two things that I liked about this episode, and it's more for what it did not do than for what it did do. So one of them, which Grandpa One mentioned first, was that it wasn't just a repeat of Flowers for Algernon. I was glad it wasn't just like, okay, that would be way too predictable. The other thing is it started down the road of the common trope we see in sci-fi of the suddenly sexy. The person who couldn't do anything before, and all of a sudden now they're like, they're attractive, and guys who are insecure are all over them and stuff like that. I was glad it kind of started down that road, but I like that it stopped very early. So I appreciated those two facets. The story was fine. I mean, it was an episode. It was fine. I watched it. I didn't regret watching it at the end. But I was glad it didn't fall into those two tropes.
I didn't regret watching it. It was an episode. What episodes have you regretted
doing the
watching?
dishes anyway? I could have been doing the dishes instead, right?
Wow.
All right.
Which episodes did you regret? Sorry.
Oh, the easy one, Meridian. That's the one that made my son stop watching.
Oh, yeah.
We watched that together, and he was like, "I'm out. Never watching it again." What? Oh, really? That's true.
All right. Well, Eve England, way out in Wales, staying up late for us. First of all, what were your thoughts on this glorious episode? And secondly, can you tell Muhammad how wrong he is about Meridian, please?
I have to confess, this was not an episode I was looking forward to rewatching. But I made a decision that I was going to just look at it more just from a totally objective perspective. And actually, I found that I enjoyed it a lot more when I actually looked at how they'd structured everything. And I think it actually, when you look at it in that way, it's actually a pretty well constructed episode. What I really like about it is it's a really good Bashir episode. So you have the arc where you start off with Bashir, feeling sorry for himself, looking at how everyone else is sort of shacking up and sort of getting on with their lives, and he's kind of left sort of twiddling his thumbs. And then you sort of go through, and he's obviously so desperate to find love and companionship that you see him going down this path where it makes it's not that what he's doing is seen to be right. So you have Miles questioning what he's doing because he's his patient, and there's clearly issues there. And whilst I'm not sort of condoning, or I think it's a good way of progressing the plot. So then you have that amazing scene then where they sing, and it's just a really good, concise way of showing how Serena just comes out of her shell. She's this genius who just picks up this musical technique just like that, and how Bashir then falls in love with her at that point. But then as you sort of go through the episode, then he's narky because she stood him up for the dinner.
Wait, he's what?
Narky.
Sure would understand.
And that's quite funny because it's obviously he got really he basically pissed off O'Brien earlier and did exactly the same to him. But then what I really like the way they did it then is when she sort of really comes out and says, look, I just don't know who I am and what I want. And you sort of see that realization in him where he goes, you know, you don't owe me anything. And I thought that then brought all of that together. And then we close on the point where Bashir then seems quite comfortable. He recognized that, okay, he was trying too hard. It wasn't really working. You know, and he's okay with that. And I think it's a really good development for his character over that one episode without it being too obviously all about Bashir, because you have that really good secondary point with Serena. So I think looking at it from that perspective actually gave me a different view of it. So it's not my favorite by any stretch, but I think actually it's a pretty good episode of TV.
Did they mention in the companion anything about the singing? Like if they extended it because Faith Sally is a show tunes kind of person? Did it mention anything like that?
Well, what it said is they weren't really sure how to do that scene, and they then decided, oh, actually, it would be really good to do a Sound of Music kind of play, but obviously having to make it different to that. And they said it was just a really happy coincidence that Faith Sally was actually an excellent singer, and they said that 3 of them can sing, but Jack couldn't sing. So he was tone deaf apparently, so they had to dub him and get someone else to do his part. But they said it was a really challenging piece. They had to rehearse it because some of them couldn't read music, and so they had to add in an extra day of rehearsals to do it, but said that they were really pleased with. And I think it is a really well done scene. It's just, you really do get that sense of that they're all so happy in that moment. And they were really pleased with how that turned out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally worth it.
It's funny that Jack was the one that was tone deaf, and he was the one that called Serena tone deaf.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Speaking of tone deaf, Goldu Scott is here, everybody. Actually, I don't know. Wow. Actually, you're a bass player, right?
Yep, there she is right over there.
Awesome.
Nice.
Not tone deaf, but not adept, I would say. Just play faster and nobody will know when you mess up.
Yep.
I was surprised, and I think it's great that we're all kind of like meh, and this episode still gets a 7, as opposed to other TV shows that have to reach for 7s. Like, really, really hard to reach and scrape for 7s. It was another moment in Bashir's timeline where it's just like, you know, shaking your head at him. But I mean, I've watched a lot of Chicago Med lately, so the whole thing about doctors messing with their patients is kind of passe in my story, my timeline right now. But I really did enjoy it more than I thought I was going to. I did remember actually outwardly not liking this one in the past, but then, you know, this time I was like, just shut up and sit down and watch it, dude, and stop complaining and think about how Julian feels for it. Nobody else thinks about how Julian feels, so go through that with him right there. It's kind of creepy too, because one of my exes looks a lot like her too, so it was like, it's just.
We know how Julian feels. He feels when you're under the anesthesia.
Whoa! Zip, zing. Melissa's jaw hit the floor.
Wow.
Red card.
Tee him up, TJ. Tee him up.
Cut that out.
Yep.
Where's my buzzer?
Is it too soon for that? Sorry.
You can tell it's an off-color joke when Muhammad's face doesn't change from like this. He's just like, I'm just gonna wait until this thing passes me by.
It's not his internet froze.
No comment.
Yeah, it's been that kind of day for us guys. Sorry you had to join in on that, but that's what we do. Just kidding. We've never said any bad jokes. TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. How'd you feel about this episode? Top 10?
But it is a fun one. Like, I don't dislike it at all. I enjoyed watching it. You know, of course, you know, I'm shaking my head at Bashir, but you know, I'm also just kind of laughing at Lauren falling all over, you know, Nog. That was pretty cool.
Yes,
obsessed with him, like staring at him on this pad and just talking about him the whole episode. I'm surprised she didn't sneak out and do some things, because she seems like that kind of person, and she's quite capable.
Yeah.
It's Also, kind of interesting seeing kind of one of the Federation's biases, if you will. I think in my head that they probably could find a better way for this group of people to live than
a cargo bay too.
Uncomfortable in this institute or in a cargo bay and things of that sort. So just one of the things that I think about when I see this, especially when Bashir goes to Sisko and his reaction is a little harsh. I mean, they did impersonate Starfleet officers, so that part was, bad. But maybe they wouldn't have to do that if they were treated better. So, there's that too. I just kind of shake my head at Bashir on this one though, as we watch him, fall into this trap. But no spoilers. But at the beginning of this episode, I do kind of see the beginnings of some kind of friendship or other ship between him and Ezri as they're talking.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ezri, I think that she could have played a larger role in this episode because this is a big change for Serena, and Ezri's the counselor. I think she should have been a part of that. Yeah.
Good call.
Two-parter, you guys. This should have been a two-parter.
It messed up the story because she'd also not let Bashir go down that road. So there's that too.
That's good stuff. Yeah, we have Ezri, with a more prominent role. Have the camera following Nog home to his quarters, and he walks in, and Lauren is there, lounged out, going, "Hi, I'm Lauren." Stuff like that. Two-parter. All right, everybody. Tierney C. Diekman did not like the image of Nog coming home to Lauren. What do you think of this episode?
Why do you do these things? I really don't like this one. It was definitely one of those better on a watch for analytical purposes. And everybody's covered a lot of the points that I would have made, which is great. I won't nitpick on some of the science. O'Brien, Kenny changed the laws of physics, even though he has several times, and the mutants can bend them, and Bashir will shunt her neural pathways, and okay, we'll just make that work. That's fine. And I'm glad they didn't do some sort of Princess Diaries thing with her of she's pretty now, so everybody's going to be after her. And it makes sense that Bashir would fall for her. He's been broken down. Jadzia's only kind of just been gone. He's obviously very lonely if he can't take the hint that Odo and Kira are all dressed up for themselves and not any company. And she comes in as his intellectual equal, and I think probably for the first time he's seeing what it's like for someone to just take care of him as a human. Don't forget your breakfast. It's important. You need that. And it makes sense. He might not act on it in the best way, but boy, fell hard and fast. And then realized that this is probably not the right thing for her. And as much as I want this, it's not going to work. And he'll suffer for it, and he'll grieve for that relationship. But he'll get over it, and she's going to go on to greener pastures. I kind of wish we had seen where she went and heard at least at some point a little blurb could have come in a later episode of what she was doing. I would have loved to know, scientist Serena is assisting and etc. But oh well.
I think that actually happened in books.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that Scott would probably know if it's in a book, and I could look further and find it. I need to read books that have to do with Star Trek, but I too many piled up. But I will say for the actress, I've already forgotten her name. Faith Sally. I really love her performance. And she makes a note, and it's on Memory Alpha, that instead of like an actor would normally be told, dig to find that motivation, that personality of your character, she is kind of all surface, not the right word for it, but she's
an innocent. She's been essentially locked in to her own mind her whole life. And she's experiencing everything fresh and new. So she's just right on top of life, as opposed to some sort of method acting or deep contemplation to find connection with your character. And weirdly, at least to me, it comes off as almost more real. And maybe that's just because she's very uncomfortable in some situations and not sure what to do, can assert herself in others, is more comfortable in a close setting just with Bashir, and then is also overwhelmed and vulnerable when there's too much external stimuli. And as just a human, as a normal, well-rounded person that any person would be, it's much more relatable than a character that comes out of nowhere, such as, well, Jack, who is obnoxious and not relatable at all, and is extremes of one side to the next. And
but
I know
he can do front flips.
Yeah, the second episode in a row where we've got a character just flipping next to Ezri. And I know his character is supposed to apparently be based off the trailing speaking of Jack Kerouac, which don't romanticize Jack Kerouac. Come on, guys, be smart. But it just, they kind of downplayed what they did with the mutants in the first episode with them. And I would have liked more mutants, more how they can have their lives improved, and less relationship. More Ezri. They could have definitely done a little counseling session for Ezri with her of, yes, she's kind of a child with a brilliant adult super brain. How the hell do you deal with that? So there could have been done. This actually could have been a two-parter dealing with Federation ethics.
I wish.
But, you know, you want everything to be a two-parter. And you're probably right. A lot of them really
kind of,
yeah. So overall, a good rewatch. One that I've probably skipped in the past, just of, oh God, it was that damn musical scene. And it's very well done. It looks like they're having fun. I think it's hilarious that Tim Ransom is tone deaf, and I want to know what that scene sounded like without editing.
I know. Yeah, totally.
And it was a clever way to get her from a really nice subtle point of she comes out and she can't just immediately speak and articulate. A good way to get her speech therapy. And she's super brain, the mutant brain, so she can get to that quickly. That was a really nice way to do that. But it's also, I'm with Sue. I'm not big on, musicals. I like to sing, but I don't need musicals. But it's still a nice episode. It's fun. Well, I don't know about fun, but it's a good one.
It's fun.
All right, it's fun.
Yeah. And Sue and Tierney agreeing again, just like every week. All right, we have
not putting thoughts in our mouths and heads.
Rex A. Wood, who puts thoughts in my head every Saturday evening. What do you think of this episode? Have you seen it recently?
Yeah, actually, I have. And it always makes me wish for the end of the galaxy. Just because of it. It's a fine episode, but the whole Sound of Music thing, go a dear. I mean, that's what you feel like I'm in is like the sound of the galaxy. I mean, the Sound of Music at that point in this one. But no, other than that, it's kind of a baby wah episode for Bashir. I'm so sorry. I need somebody, and everybody's going other places, and I'm stuck here, and I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to play with my little. I'm going to go to sleep now. Oh, good. And you can't tell me that he was not happy that somebody got him up at 3:00 in the morning. He was so lonely. Yeah. Really, on the inside, he was going, "Yay! I get to go do something. Somebody needs me." So I'm sure on the inside, he was still kind of happy. He had to get up and go out at that point. So, and the fact that the mutants kind of fooled Nog, unfortunately, about being a real admiral through that whole thing. And it took Nog a while to catch on what was going on. But it was a fun episode. It just wasn't one of my favorites, I guess I could say. I'm not going to be within those three people that are going to call it their favorite. but it had its moments. Let's just put it that way. And, just to be honest, but, it's not the worst Star Trek episode I've seen in my life. So,
what is?
Yeah, there has to be one.
Gosh, I'm not even going to go into it. It'll cause a controversy.
I love it. I love it.
Yep. It's called, that's why it's Trekkers Against Bowling, because I'd be bullying somebody's episode. So I don't want to do that.
It's got to be a time travel episode.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice and effective cop-out, Rex. I think
isn't it? It's a good cop-out.
Because we're all entitled to our least favorite episode.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree totally with that.
How about our least favorite series?
My least favorite in a heartbeat.
That's even worse to say.
Out of all that I've seen, it's from the original series, Spock's Brain.
Oh yeah, that one's
that's
not
to me the
absolute
worst
episode.
Brain. Where is Brain and
what
Brain?
Is Brain? Yeah, what is Brain? Yeah,
better than Shades of Grey.
We're almost done. Let's just
Shades of Grey.
Somebody just write this, okay, and get done. Got a new show to go to. All right.
Stay tuned next week, you guys. We are going to extract Rex Wood's least favorite episode. We will ask again, and this time
that doesn't sound right. That just doesn't sound right.
Maybe you're right. Cirroc, do we have any final thoughts on this episode before we go?
I was going to say that Chrysalis is something that I was, I'm sure that Sue knows a lot about. The transformation stage of the caterpillar into the butterfly. Just a little, and it also talks about a transition of self-consciousness from adolescence. So it's also used in that kind of transformation as well. This word
makes sense.
So it's appropriately titled, I think. I also think that is a very difficult thing to deal with mental health. And I think that in this episode, you can still see that, and then many years later now, we still have it as an issue in society. Mental health is a big problem.
Yeah.
And what we do with people who are mentally unhealthy is we actually do what was done in this episode. We isolate them, we ridicule them, we ostracize them from society. And I think that is actually a problem that we still haven't been able to figure out even these many years into the future. They can fix broken bones, they can have all types of dermal regeneration, but when it comes to the complexity of mental health, you can see that the value of counselors on board stations, the value of friends reaching out to you and picking up on signs of fragility in your behavior. I think those are the important things that we really could expand more upon in the realm of the science and in the realm of the good of humanity. And I think they tried to take on this issue in this episode. I don't really think they hit it out of the park as far as the standard that they usually do when they deal with tough issues, but at least they dabble in it and they talk about it a little bit. So yeah, that's one of the things I think is still an ongoing theme about how do we help people that are, that need it and are suffering from these kinds of mental conditions. What kind of help is the best for them? And what are the solutions that best maximize their potential in life and allow them to live some kind of happiness and normalcy? So I think it's still a complicated issue. Mm-hmm. And then the idea of Bashir, it's a little bit too awkward sexually for me as far as his inappropriate comments and stuff. So he's been consistent, at least as far as the beginning of the show started like that, and he's pretty much like that now in season 7. So I'm like,
season 7.
Not much growth for his character.
No.
In that way.
No, but his character was growth.
Oh.
It actually reminds me, they actually reshot a scene, one of the kissing scenes with Bashir, because he looked too predatory
Yeesh.
Indeed.
I'm glad they reshot it then.
I'm pretty sure it's the one that you already feel a little.
It's just like I said when we were doing the review, and I'll bring it up again. But I mean, the end of this episode, the woman opens up to him and she says, "I wish I could be the woman you want me to be."
Right.
His answer to her was, "Shh."
Yeah.
Which is like,
absolutely.
That's why you're not getting any girls, bro.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Stop believing in the friend zone. There is no friend zone.
You just shush this woman, like opening her feelings up to you, and you're okay. And it's like
there he is.
He shushed himself for a second there.
Yeah, I just shushed myself. This woman is opening up, and she's very vulnerable, and you are just that clueless that you're like, shh, I don't want to talk right now, because I'm just in my own feelings, and that's why he's not. That's why he's alone.
They enhanced everything but his self-awareness.
Now,
absolutely.
Also, before we go, Malissa Longo, do you have any final thoughts on this episode? This is when we're all supposed to go, shh. No, but what do you got for us, Malissa? Any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, only that I think Cirroc brings up a great point about looking at mental health, and the reason, and I don't have all of the answers. I don't have any answers, but I'm just throwing this out there as a possibility as to why we have such a difficult time handling mental health is because it kind of holds a mirror up to all of us. We all are dealing with our own varying degrees of mental health issues, and how do you address that, because everyone's on such a different spectrum of health mentally. So and that may be why it's so difficult to address in shows, and thank goodness Deep Space Nine tries to at least look at it and shine a light on it, rather than avoiding it and saying, well, these issues don't exist, but they do exist, and it helps us learn how to be better in handling people who are far more extreme on the mental health spectrum than those that are not.
Right. Because I look at these characters like they were some kind of like on the autistic spectrum. Essentially, they kind of show those kinds of behavioral, traits. So when I look at them, like, okay, these could be like autistic, individuals, so, eccentric or genius level, like a Rain Man type of person. So I mean, there's how do we deal with it?
And I think Bashir might be on that spectrum too, to a degree.
Yeah.
Which is why he is so socially awkward throughout the whole series.
Another really tough thing about the mental health situation is that it's so hard to identify just on a cursory glance. If somebody has a broken arm, you see they have a cast on, you go, oh, I better not bump this person's elbow. Or if somebody has a bandage on their head, oh, I better not touch their head. But somebody with any kind of mental health issue, you don't know, oh, I better not say this. This will hurt that person's feelings, or I better not make this loud noise. They have PTSD, or I don't, we don't know these kind of things. And it's a lot harder to identify and address right away. And that's one of the main difficulties. But I am glad that Star Trek tackles it and Deep Space Nine tackles it, even if clumsily. It's the thought that counts. We do have to run, everybody. So much more to talk about that. I wish we had more time. But thank you to Melissa Longo, Grandpa One in Fiji, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Tierney C. Diekman with the rad shirt. We have Goldu Scott, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Mohammed Noor, also a rad shirt, by the way, Abyssinian Kiosk, Sisko Kid, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Trekkers Against Bullying by Rex A. Wood. For myself and Cirroc Lofton, we will see you all next time. Until then, always remember the 7th rule.